At this time, I am happy to introduce our commencement speaker, Mark Redmond. Mark Redmond is the Executive Director of Spectrum Youth and Family Services. And since 2003, Mark has led Spectrum, and Spectrum is an organization that works to empower teenagers, young adults, and their families to make and sustain positive changes through prevention, intervention, and life skills services. In addition to his work at Spectrum, Mark is also a talented storyteller. You may have heard him on Moth Radio. He is also a writer for the Huffington Post and the author of The Goodness Within, Reaching Out to Troubled Teens with Love and Compassion. We are delighted that you could join us today, Mark. Thank you.
President Joyce Judy, trustees, faculty, staff, student support teams, alumni, and parents, and you, the students, thank you for allowing me to share in this amazing day. I am the director of Spectrum, and at Spectrum we work with teenagers and young adults who are runaways, homeless, struggling with mental illness, struggling with addiction, young people who may have committed a crime and they're in the juvenile justice system, young people in the foster care system, the children's mental health system, young people who have experienced or witnessed firsthand the horrors of domestic violence, child abuse, neglect, and poverty. I've been at Spectrum for 13 years, but I've done this type of work for 35 years. I've learned a lot from working with kids like this. The one thing that I've learned that is most important is that those who do find their way out of homelessness, those who do find their way out of poverty, are not always the ones with the highest intelligence. They're not always the ones who have some special skill. They are always the ones who have one very important quality in common, and that quality is called grit. The number 3 book right now, this week, in the New York Times bestseller list, nonfiction, is called Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. Angela Duckworth was a school teacher who could not help but notice that while many of her children were from poverty and family dysfunction, some of them managed to overcome that and succeed in school and in life, while others did not, and she wondered why that was. So she left teaching to pursue a PhD in psychology at the University of Pennsylvania. She was also awarded a MacArthur Genius Grant Award, so she's a very smart person. And her finding was that it was, in fact, grit that made the difference. And here's her definition of grit. I'm going to read it to you. Grit is perseverance and passion for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina, sticking with your future, day in and day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is more important to a person's success in life than their IQ and their talent. I want to tell you about one person I greatly admire who I think has grit. Some of you may know her because she actually went to this school. I have her permission to tell her story. Her name is Medina Arbo. She's 21 years old. She lives in Winooski. And she went to this school from 2013 to 2015. My wife, Mary Beth, and I first met Medina 12 years ago because that year the Vermont Refugee Resettlement Program sent out an email looking for volunteers to serve as host families for Somali Bantu families that were fleeing the war in Somalia. They were in a refugee camp in Kenya, cleared to come to America, and they needed host families to live with. So we said we would do that. So one day in August 2004, we went to Burlington International Airport, and we watched as a single mother walked off the plane with 5 children, ages 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And Medina was the 9-year-old. Medina had lived in a refugee camp in Kenya her entire life. We drove them to our house in Essex. They lived with us for 1 week. And as they were preparing to leave us to move into their own housing in Burlington, my wife said to me, "This is going to be a very tough transition for this mother, raising 5 children alone, a new country, a new culture, not only a new language. They spoke Mai, which wasn't a written language at that time, so they didn't even have any familiarity with a written language. It wasn't easy for that mother, and it wasn't easy for Medina. Medina went through the entire Burlington School District system, Lawrence Barnes, Hunt Middle School, Burlington High School, trying to learn English while also taking a lot of the regular courses. Her mother remarried and had 2 more children, and a lot of those child care responsibilities fell on Medina. There were now 6 younger children to help care for, especially since her mother worked a full-time job overnight at a retail store in South Burlington. As soon as Medina was old enough, she got a job too to earn money for the family, trying to do her homework in a crowded apartment. I am sure some of you can relate to some of these struggles that I'm talking about. We kept in contact with Medina and the whole family all through those years. In fact, my wife, Mary Beth, became her mentor through Spectrum. And when she was a senior in high school, she told us that she had applied to a private university in New England, not going to say which one it is, and that she had gotten in. And she was just about to sign the paperwork to go there. And we said to her, please come over for dinner. We just want to look at, all the paperwork and what the arrangement is. So she came over. And we did a little research and found out that the graduation rate at this private university was only 50%. So half the kids didn't even make it through in 4 years. And when we looked at the paperwork, they wanted her to take $80,000 worth of loans. And we said to her, please, please, please don't sign that paperwork. Go to the Community College of Vermont instead, and after that, you can go anywhere you want. And thankfully, that is what she did. We were so happy. And she was here for 2 years, and she had a great experience. In fact, I called her the other day, told her I was going to give this speech, and I said, what was it like at CCV? I really want to know. You tell me what was good, what was bad. And this is what she said. I'm quoting her. The professors teach in a way that is not easy, but it's not hard either, all at the same time. There is something about the CCV professors, the way they teach. They are friendly, absolutely great professors who know all of their students and how they are each doing. I'm really glad I started there for college. So professors, I give praise to you. Great job. So Medina did her 2 years here at CCV. Then she applied to 6 different colleges, got into them all, including St. Michael's and the University of Vermont. She picked the University of Vermont because she wants to be a middle school teacher, and they have a really good education department. Plus, they gave her a full scholarship. No debt, no loans at all. Medina will graduate with a bachelor's degree in about 18 months, and I have total confidence that she's going to do that, and I have total confidence she's going to be a great middle school teacher. The kids who get her as a teacher are going to be very fortunate indeed. So think about this. When we first met Medina 12 years ago, she had just left a refugee camp in Kenya in really brutal conditions. Now she's on the verge of getting a bachelor's degree from one of the finest universities, not only in Vermont, but in the country. So there's a lot of reasons that Medina went from that to where she is now. One is my wife's role as her mentor. She had another mentor at Spectrum named Lisa Logan. I want to mention her as well. The Community College of Vermont itself played an absolutely indispensable role at a crucial time in Medina's life. But also, there was Medina herself. Medina has grit. Remember that definition of grit? Sticking with your future, day in and day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future reality. That's Medina. That's who she is. She surrounded herself with responsible people and listened to their advice. She surrounded herself with people who were role models for her, who could help her and coach her and mentor her. Medina recognized her dignity and what she deserved in life. You know who else I think has grit? I think you do. I think all 550 of you have grit. 57% of you are the first ones in your family to graduate from college. 78% of you held full or part-time jobs while going here. Some of you are in your 50s and 60s. I can only imagine the challenges and difficulties some of you have overcome while in school. around transportation, around childcare, around finances, finding the time to study while you're working maybe 1 or even 2 jobs. Maybe for some of you, your family might not even have been supportive of you going to college. Who knows? But you did it. You didn't give up. You got your college degree. And you know, very few people on the planet get to the point you're at. According to Harvard University and the Asian Development Bank, only 6.7% of the entire planet earns an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. 93% of the planet hasn't gotten to the point where you're at. You are in very rare company indeed, and I commend you for it, and I admire you. I look out at you, and I see the best of Vermont. I see you as the bedrock of our state. And to me, your achievements are all the greater because of the challenges that you've had to overcome and deal with. To Joyce, Judy, and every professor and every staff member at CCV in whatever capacity you are, I want to thank you for what you did for Medina Arbo, and I want to thank you for what you did for these students today. And to the students themselves, my charge to you is to take this diploma you're going to get in a few minutes and take that same attitude of persistence and determination and go out and do good things for yourself, for your family, and for the world, especially for people who are poor, who are homeless, and who are new to this country. I say to you, thank you for your resilience. Thank you for not giving up when it would have been easy to give up. Thank you for your grit. Congratulations to you all.